is of importance, and that's why that means making sure.
European leaders are confronting an unprecedented squeeze from Washington and growing threats from Moscow. The New York Times reports that aides to US President Donald Trump have openly engaged with European political movements, meeting politicians across Germany, Poland, and France, while criticizing court rulings against favored parties. Officials privately warn that this constitutes a dangerous intrusion into domestic politics, a breach of norms between allies.
The member states were not willing to take the risk of further escalation that would result from European countermeasures.
Tensions escalated further after Estonia accused Russian MiG jets of violating its airspace, a claim Moscow denies. The incident underscores Europe's strategic fragility and the urgent need to assert autonomy.
Europe must quickly find its place in changing world to protect its citizens and to secure its long-term prosperity.
The EU's 19th sanctions package targets trade, financial services, energy and sanctions evasion, aiming to cripple Russia's war economy. While these measures signal defiance, Europe remains heavily reliant on the United States for security.
We have a land war on the European continent, and we are completely dependent on the United States.
European concessions on trade, according to EU officials, are increasingly shaped by fear rather than negotiation. The pressure to maintain alignment with Washington has forced member states into reluctant compliance, leaving many decisions weighed against potential escalation.
European concessions on trade were not based on negotiation, but on fear, the need to maintain security cooperation with the United States while Russia wages war in Ukraine.
The Trump administration's overt engagement with European politicians has heightened anxiety about political intrusion. Officials argue that support for certain movements abroad undermines European sovereignty and risks normalizing interference in domestic politics. Analysts warn that Europe faces a dual dilemma: assert strategic autonomy or continue leaning on an ally whose interventions threaten internal politics. From sanctions to defense funding and political influence, the continent's ability to act independently is under unprecedented scrutiny.
Recent violations of Union's airspace, including yesterday's outrageous violation of Estonian airspace by Russian MiGs, underlines the need and urgency for Europe to take responsibility for its own security.
Caught between US pressure and Russian aggression, Europe faces a stark choice: continue leaning on an intrusive ally or take bold steps towards strategic independence. The continent's political sovereignty, defense posture, and future prosperity hang in the balance as leaders weigh the risks of action against the dangers of inaction.